Jonathan, for 2 years, Billy Joe Harris victimized 14 different women. Each and every one of them were living in their twilight years. They were stalked, their homes broken into, and their valuable items stolen. He cut his victims' phone and power lines so they couldn't see him or run for help. In some cases, he even forced his victims to clean up the crime by forcing them to shower so his DNA wouldn't be traced. His plans worked until he was caught earlier this year, thanks to medical cord pressed by a victim who was crying out for help.
Yep, 911.
I need the police over here.
Okay, what's going on?
My neighbor just knocked on the door. I have her here in my apartment. She claims that guy that tried to rape her came back.
This person was so unpredictable.
Since January of 2009, people living in the town of Yoakum were not getting much sleep, especially the elderly. A dangerous predator had been targeting elderly women during early morning hours, burglarizing their homes, sexually assaulting them, and sometimes targeting victims more than once.
Our first victim had been the officers from the Yoakum Police Department had gotten together and moved our first victim out of the house she was living in a senior housing area. And our first victim was attacked again by the same individual.
People were really nervous and just hoping that this person would be caught as soon as possible and stop terrorizing our town.
But this dangerous predator wasn't just terrorizing this town. He was also spreading the terror in other Texas counties like Leon, Falls, Bell, Caldwell, and McLennan.
We received information that DNA from our second attack, the one that occurred in February, had matched DNA taken from another sexual assault up in the Centerville, Marquette area.
The DNA helped give law enforcement in Central and South Texas a name and a face to the man behind the heinous attacks. Texas Governor Rick Perry immediately set up a special task force to catch one of Texas's most wanted, 53-year-old Billy Joe Harris of Houston, who was coined the name the Twilight Rapist.
It's called the Twilight Rapist because the people that he was sexually assaulting were in their twilight years.
But it wasn't the task force that caught Harris. It was these two Edna police officers who were working the night patrol shift in January of 2011.
The call comes in, medical alert. I was like, hey, let's just ease over there. Nothing going on. You know, it's 4 in the morning. So we go by there. I said, we'll go by there. If the EMS is there, we'll just go on by.
But what appeared to the officers as a regular medical alert call quickly turned suspicious. While EMS was en route to the call, officers Yaws and Chastain were the first on scene at the Miracle Manor apartments. Yaws says the apartment unit they were responding to looked familiar. It was the same unit that was burglarized in December of '09. As Yaws got closer to the unit, he noticed the apartment's window screen was set beside the unit. The officers immediately began making contact, but the door was locked. Chastain then ran to the window of the apartment to try and get in, but received resistance and began hearing an elderly woman cry for help.
Help me, help me, help me, you know.
The screaming never stopped with her.
It never stopped. You could hear stuff being thrown against the walls or whatever, you know, was being hit in there, you know, just a lot of noise in there.
But after a few minutes of struggle, the man that placed fear in small towns across Texas, Billy Joe Harris, was finally in police custody. Harris was indicted on 29 separate felonies, ranging from aggravated sexual assault to burglary of habitation. His first trial began in September of 2011 in Jackson County. There he was indicted on aggravated sexual assault of a disabled person, burglary of habitation with the intent to commit sexual assault, and burglary of habitation. Harris pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. Jackson County District Attorney Bobby Bell seeked the maximum sentence, life in prison. During the trial, the defense tried to argue that Harris suffered from multiple personality disorder, known as DID.
During my interviews, extensive interviews with Billy Joe, that there were significant mental issues, very, very ill.
Harris claimed that during the trial, two of those personalities, David the dog and Bobby the mastermind, were responsible for his attacks. He also displayed bizarre behavior in the courtroom, like suddenly falling down or twitching. Two experts also testified in Harris's defense, claiming that he suffered from DID. But the DID claim used by the defense did not have enough scientific basis. causing the expert's testimony to be excluded from the trial. The insanity plea began to lose its credibility in front of the jury even more when the prosecution presented a piece of evidence that pulled the curtains on Harris's insanity plea. During a jail phone conversation between Harris and former girlfriend, Harris asked if she enjoyed his act during an arraignment in Leon County.
Good show, what? But you remember I told you about that picture show you were going to see?
A picture showed that the Jackson County jury did not buy into. It took the jury only 10 minutes to find Harris guilty and 10 minutes to sentence him.
I sentence you, Billy Joe Harris, to be confined for the rest of your natural life in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, and I further assess a fine of $10,000.
He is a dangerous predator, purely and simply. He can play his games all he wants to play. He can pretend to be crazy, insane, or whatever he wants to do. But at the end of the day, he's a predator. And he's a dangerous predator, and he needs to never be removed from prison.
And even though the sentence was a closure for the victims, their twilight years will forever be tainted by a man who preyed on their vulnerability.
They were living their life and enjoying the years that they have left, and this individual came along and tried to destroy that.
And as the victims were thankful for the justice served, they never forgot about the 2 officers that caught the man Texas was looking for. They flooded the officers with thank you cards.
I mean, we're happy we did it. You know, probably do the rest of our careers.
Knowing that how many people can sleep at night now.